Hey! What's up, guys? Welcome yet again to another beautiful episode of the Double BS Podcast. Of course, my name is Shmoo. I'm joined by my hetero life mate and brother, Mr. Matty Bad.
What's up? What's up?
Welcome. So, I'm excited tonight. I had a good day. But I'm excited.
That's one of us.
Because I know Matty didn't have a bad day, so we're gonna try to pep him up tonight. I'm excited for a couple reasons. Number one, I'm super excited for the beer I'm about to introduce to Matty. I'm very excited. I've had a little sip. It's delicious. And I'm excited about our topic tonight. So, before we get into the topic, I'm going to I have been hiding this from him. I'm going to hand Matty this can.
It scares me a little bit.
I want to see his reaction to this. I'm going to give him, this is the beer we're going to introduce Matty to tonight. So, Matty, I want you to read that out to us.
This is Big Grove Brewery. Of course, I've had a couple beers from there. The Cranberry Plum Swirl Fruited Sour Ale. Oh, that's a lot to take in. So, I'm not reading this entire thing. This
you've read the front of it.
Yes, the Cranberry Plum Swirl Fruited Sour Ale.
It looked good. I saw that shopping at the local store, and I was like, that's the beer for tonight. So I'm curious for you to taste it, because once you do, I'm really excited for the beer I'm about to drink, also from Big Grove Brewery. I will be drinking. I've got a couple beers in the fridge, but I'm really excited about this one. This is, and again, Big Grove has been really pumping out some beers lately. Every time I go into the local Hy-Vee, there's like 2 and 3 different Big Grove beers that I've never heard of.
I think the last 3 episodes I've tried a different one from that brewery.
2 out of the 3.
Really?
You had the blackberry sour, and then
right. The Zach's Mexican Donuts
from Single Speed.
Yeah, well, that wasn't from there.
And then we did the. Did you do the pineapple swirl one? I think you did the pineapple swirl.
Yeah, the pineapple swirl.
So another swirl. So this is another in that kind of category.
The Cranberry Plum Swirl Fruited Sour Ale. Good Lord, here we go.
Really good.
All right, well, to everybody listening,
I'm going to cheers you. While you sip,
cheers.
I'm drinking the Northside Helles lager beer, German style Helles. Oh goodness, that was yours. Mine was magical.
That's surprisingly very tasty. Not bad. Like, wow.
I love it at this point in our friendship.
Not a cranberry fan, but woo.
And especially with us doing this podcast, I've introduced you to some different beers.
Yeah.
Over the course of it, and you're still like, I'm surprised at how that tastes.
It is.
Like, Matt, this is what I do. Like, I understand your taste buds. And I will tell you this. You've got a couple more of these kind of fruited ales, sour ales. We're going to start maneuvering you.
You're going to start ramping it up?
We're gonna baby step. We don't want to put you in pain. We don't want you to suffer.
You've done that to me many times.
I know this. We don't want to do it again. So Big Grove Brewery. I'm telling you, the Cranberry Plum Swirl. I had it too, and I was impressed because I don't like plum. I'm like, I don't know that I've ever had anything plum.
Well, it's not the plum. I'm not a cranberry fan.
Yeah. It's kind of the opposite, but I was like, it kind of came through nice balance.
Yeah,
this is that like cranberries. You have that like tart.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
It didn't have that. I think
no, it's very smooth. There, very smooth.
Back it up and then go.
Fuck, that was amazing.
You can start whenever.
Just tell me where we were at.
You were at a quiet point, so you were just talking about the beer and how you guys tried new shit.
Perfect. So that was a really nice surprise. This Northside Helles, I'm probably pronouncing this wrong. I'm assuming it's Helles. Very, very good. Light beer too, 4.5. Really, really good. I'm excited for it.
Ooh.
So,
well, give me one of them.
I mean, I tell you what, this is kind of a cool episode. I'm excited. When you finish that one, I'll give you one of these. So Helles very close to the Pilsner.
Trust me, after the day I've had today, it may not last. You
will probably like this one. This is probably good. We do have to work on as we get better at this podcasting. I've noticed we're usually pretty good about taking drinks or beer at the same time. So, oh goodness.
We're
So
brothers from another mother.
tonight's episode, we had talked a while back. We had talked about, we talked about different topics and like that. And when this whole thing started, we talked about doing kind of what I call, being kind of the nerd that I am, origin stories. But I thought it'd be a little more prevalent, a little more relatable to, instead of doing that, because Matty always puts it, and he's going to talk about this here in just a moment. I'm going to let him fly. Tonight we want to talk about the kind of how this podcast came to be. Not so much about who I am and who Matty is and who we are as people, but kind of how this podcast came to be and where we are and what we like about podcasting. I think that's important. I think the people that I've talked to about our podcast, I think that's a big thing. I think most of the people currently that listen to us, they know who we are. We're kind of idiots that just kind of do our thing. So,
we're still
on that note,
very relatable.
Yeah, I think, and I'm gonna say a thing here, and then Matty, I want you to kind of reiterate what you said before, because I think it's a great lead-in. But none of this, and we're going to get more into this person throughout the episode here, but none of this is possible. Us sounding the way we do. If anybody listened to the difference between episode 1 and 2, and then 3,
right.
Our producer Maggie, who's here tonight, she's not going to chime in, so we're going to chime in for her. She's done a wonderful job. And if you really listen to episode 3, I'm excited actually to hear this. Just different sound setups and things. Not possible without her. So very excited to have her on board. So, but I think podcasting, when you talk podcasting, and I'll get into it in a minute with kind of where we started, but I think podcasting as a whole, I think there's kind of a view of what it is and what it isn't. But Matt, you had some really good points here a moment ago, so I know we're going to kind of chomp into it, and we're not having the same conversation, but if you would, I'd love for you to get into that kind of where we were just at.
At what point? At what part?
Well, we were talking about, so we're talking about like different podcasts and whether you like them or not, and kind of some of the content of, because you were talking about, of course, you like Colin Cowherd.
Well, I do, yeah.
I want to punch him in the face. Just for his disrespect to Iowa.
Well, you have to understand a lot of podcasts, and a lot of the podcasts that I watch, and a lot of the podcasts that you watch, I mean, they're television shows.
Yeah.
A lot of the podcasts that I watch are, my favorite one, Skip and Shannon, Undisputed.
Mm-hmm. I only watch 3.
Because, I mean, that has to deal with something that's very near and dear to my heart, that I am a sports enthusiast.
We should probably do an episode on sports here soon.
You would not get me to shut up. Because I have opinions that galore. No, like, I would love to be on one of these shows. Like, Skip and Shannon, Colin Cowherd. The funny thing about it is, podcast is, you don't have to necessarily speak the truth or be all of them claim to be objective. But a lot of them take their personal feelings and put it towards what their objective views are. Well, if you're going to be objective, you have to literally completely take your personal feelings outside of it. Colin doesn't know how to do that at some things. At some things he does. Skip, who is he's just a polarizing figure. You have to listen to him.
I do like me some Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless is good.
He's the least. He claims to be the most objective person when it comes to his sports. He's the least objective person because he cannot take his personal feelings out of it. Shannon, and I love that. Come on, Skip. Like, he can't take his personal feelings out of it. Skip loves some Tom Brady. He loves his Dallas Cowboys. He hates Aaron Rodgers. Of course, as a Packer fan, I love to watch it for that, for that rivalry, for like, what are you going to say? Because what are you going to bring up to the table? Because it's like this, you bring up certain points when it's in Tom Brady's favor. You bring up certain points when it's in Aaron Rodgers' detriment. You have to, he's the least objective person. But at the same time, Skip has probably the most courage in his convictions. He will literally stand by everything he says until the day he dies. Like, he absolutely believes everything he says.
Yep.
And whether it's stats, whether it's certain plays or whatever, he will be like, this is why, this is it, and he will stick by it. He will not let you convince him. And that's one of the reasons that I do love Skip. It's like this. At least you have, as I will say, the balls to stick by what you say.
And I think the cool thing about that, and I've kind of got, well, especially this year with coronavirus and all that, I used to,
at least you didn't call it a
I would
pandemic.
wake up and I would be, it was ESPN, everything. But it's gotten so much of just the same, just over and over and over, especially this year with everything going on. But the cool thing about that one is you have Skip Bayless, who's very, I have my teams and I have my views and this is what I like, and I'm going to be quote unquote objective, but at the same time, I'm gonna play favorites.
He does.
But on the other side of the table, and I actually like it better because it used to be Skip and it was Stephen A. Smith, and I love Stephen A. Smith, but that was not a good fit.
No, it was. It was.
And here's why I'm saying it's not.
It was because of who they were as a pairing. Because I learned, because I love to listen to Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless go back and forth because they would differ on views. I don't like to listen to Stephen A. Smith, and ESPN First Take is still a podcast. You can listen to it on ESPN Radio. You can do the same thing, but it's like Max Kellerman. You don't like Max Kellerman, who is a boxing enthusiast and who's can talk about boxing all day long. More than he knows more about boxing in his pinky finger than I know in my entire brain. Like you're basically giving me an eye test. You're doing the same job I could do on your job.
Yeah.
Like Skip is talking to Shannon, who I have much respect for. I love Shannon Sharp. I loved his brother, who played for the Green Bay Packers. Shannon.
See, I like Shannon Sharp.
Shannon is a Hall of Famer. It's like this. For the most part about it, it's like, how could you even disagree with Shannon Sharp in any terms of the fact of football? Because this is a man who played football, is a Hall of Fame football player, knows what goes on in the locker room, knows what goes on in the field. It's like, I can't dispute you. Like, you understand that. I'm giving you my point of view. You're giving me your point of view. But at the same time, I have never been where you have been. And I could never be where you have been. So I'm giving you an eye test. You're giving me a personal experience. I know what's going on. I've been there. I've done that. So this is what's happening.
And that's for me where we would differ is with when I would watch when it was Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. It was just like button heads. I was like, okay.
That's all they did.
But it was like, get to a point. Like I want to hear some content. Where with like Shannon Sharp, and of course I love Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp was the tight end for the Denver Broncos, of course in the 97-98 season. If you remember,
yeah.
I don't know if you do, but 97-98 season there was a Super Bowl, and the Denver Broncos played the Green Bay Packers.
I like how you asked me if I remember that.
The Denver Broncos
I'm literally a Packer fan. I said that.
Defeated the Green Bay Packers, and ever since that day, I've been a lifelong Broncos fan. That was like, I'm in.
How's your season going now?
It's not good.
Then shut up.
You lost to the Vikings.
Who have you not lost to? Did you beat anybody?
I think we beat the Jets.
Congratulations.
Not good. No, we're not having a good year. But I think the cool thing is where that version, where the Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless was very just combative, where Shannon Sharp and they are very similar to you and me, very complimentary. Like, Skip Bayless is going to say what Skip Bayless is going to say.
Right.
And Shannon Sharp is going to take that in and respond accordingly. Now, he's going to pepper in, his experience and his life and what he's experienced, what he knows and his knowledge. But he does it in a way that's like, it's not combative, it's like you were saying, it's like, come on, man. Like,
well, no, the funny thing is,
like, I played in the league. Like,
I
to
know,
really
but
wanna
it's
argue on
funny
that,
because,
like,
well,
that's what I like about it.
Shannon
that's
will
cool.
toss out, like, what they're doing and whatnot, and he'll toss out stats just like, because the biggest thing Skip has is stats. The biggest thing Stephen A has is stats. Like, that's all they can toss out. Like, he's completing so many percent of his passes. So the funny thing is like, but when Skip tosses out stats, it's like you toss out certain stats when it's beneficial to who you are in favor of.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you discount the ones that are in favor of the other ones. Like, he discounts QBR when Tom Brady plays a crappy game.
Mm-hmm.
But he brings up QBR when Aaron Rodgers plays a crappy game. Like, it's like your hate for Aaron Rodgers
Trumps
discounts your opinion of it because
he's a fan.
You don't bring up the same stuff. Like, he's already this year saying Tom Brady's the MVP. It's like, well, he has a lower QBR of Aaron Rodgers, and it's like,
absolutely not.
He goes, well, Aaron Rodgers had a QBR of this in this last game. It's like, okay, so Tom Brady had a QBR of 4.
But I think the difference there is
in his game against the Saints, but you don't talk about that.
Yeah.
At all.
With that though,
Ever.
I think where you're saying, and I'm going to correct you, where you say Skip Bayless has stats and Stephen A. Smith has stats. No, they know stats.
Well,
Shannon,
yeah,
Shannon Sharp
they do research.
has stats.
Well, I mean,
Like,
he does the same
owns
research.
stats.
Yes.
So it would be very easy for a guy like Shannon Sharp, and you see it a lot, where you see these professional athletes that go into broadcasting and can't completely let go of that part of it. Where Shannon Sharp has done a wonderful job, and I think what's really cool about that is, and this is like a lot of the podcasts we watch, I know a lot of the stuff you watch is very much sports oriented.
I love
For me, and I'm fairly new to watching podcasts. I mean, I never really.
Well, I
never got into them, but like for me,
they're
it's
television shows to me, but they're podcasts still.
But again, I'm still
because you can listen to them on the radio, and that's where they basically oriented from.
Yeah. So, like for me, speaking of the Double BS podcast, when you came down to my basement a couple weeks ago, we should podcast. I'm like, what's a podcast? I don't know. Like I've been doing social media stuff. I mean, for personal reasons, work reasons, club reasons, for over a year. I mean, that's just what I've been doing.
Wow.
That's all I knew was just doing these, Facebook Lives, things like that. So when you came down, my brain goes, huh, what? But then, of course, we started talking, some of our favorites, Joe Rogan Experience.
Right. Love Joe Rogan.
And then,
podcasts are the
the Hodge Twins.
They're literally great.
Two very different podcasts.
Yes, very.
And probably my personal favorite, and what I want to model, or I tend to look at to model us after, is Two Bears, One Cave. With Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura.
Which one do I get to be?
You would probably be the Tom Segura.
Okay.
You would be more of the calmer, and this is the way it is. Where I would be more the Bert Kreischer, like I'm just an idiot. I mean, that's just life.
Yeah, Bert, he's not calling you an idiot by any means. If you're listening,
I love Bert.
I love
Bert Kreischer. So, fun fact: did you know? You ever seen the movie Van Wilder?
No. Yeah, of course I've seen the movie Van Wilder.
Did you know who that movie is based off of? That is based off of Bert Kreischer. If you think I'm a liar, Google it. Listeners, Google Van Wilder and Bert Kreischer. I'm telling you, it'll blow your mind. It's crazy. True story.
I would literally do that when this episode's over.
Mm-hmm. But I think...
Because that movie came out like 20 years before I even knew who Bert Kreischer was.
I'm just saying.
I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just saying.
That's huge. So, when you came down, it's like, well, let's do a podcast. I'm like, wait a minute. Like a week ago, you're like, well, I should be on your Facebook Lives. I'm like, okay.
Well, see, the whole podcast
but I
video.
think that was cool. I was like, okay, like Matty wants to do something. Let's do something. He goes, podcast. And if you remember, so we're sitting down here. So we're going to go, okay, you got to go on your sports rant. I just locked into my thing. I'm going to go.
Hit it.
Be ready. So Matty comes down. He goes, and it was like on a Friday. It's a Friday, it doesn't matter. Like comes down, he gets off work. See episode 2 for shift work.
Don't. Shift work sucks.
but see episode 2.
I could have jumped off a
the WBS
building with it.
podcast. And he's coming over for beers. And I'm sitting down at my bar. Surprise, surprise. And, like, you literally came in the door, down the stairs, sat down. And I think before you sat down, we should do a podcast. And I was like, what? Like, where is this coming from? Oh, look at that. We got a surprise special guest. This is the Miss Pickles. It's my kitty cat. Hi, Pickles. Pickles has joined the podcast.
The whole podcast
So,
thing was literally kind of me being selfish at the same time.
I was getting there.
All the Facebook Live videos that you do and all the people that, that we know together and everything that goes on. I'm like this. We should literally do these like once a week. Like, give us a couple hours to just have some fun, talk about things, see who joins in, see how far we can get. Like, let's have some fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. But at the time, I'm just like, podcast.
But I was literally piggybacking off of your idea. I mean, it's...
Yeah. But I didn't know anything about podcasts at that point. Like, you said podcast, and I'm like, huh? Like, it was just...
Oh, everybody has one.
Like, it didn't register.
Right.
No, that's wrong. You say everybody has one. Remember, I looked that up. There's over 600 million blogs right now. There's slightly over a million podcasts. Those are stats as of October 2020. Fun fact. So anyway, I digress.
Whatever.
So you're saying this, I'm like, okay. So if you remember, then, the wife comes down and we're sitting here, we're jotting notes down. I'm looking stuff up on the phone. We're drinking some beers. Shocker.
Yeah, because that's always
that's all we do.
Great brainstorming thing to do.
So we're going, we went into the night and we're just like, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. So fast forward. And again, I'm pretty sure that was on a Saturday. So the next day, all right, I'm sitting in the house, and my buddy Zach gets hold of me, and he goes, hey, who wants to go to B-Dubs and eat some wings and watch some football? And I was like, well, whatever. I haven't seen Zach in a while, so I'll go. So I go.
Why would you not go?
Huh?
Why would you not go?
Well, I was tired.
Wings and football on a Sunday during football season. That's what you should do.
I had wings in my freezer. I could have cooked myself.
I don't give a
TVs in my house.
I don't care.
I just got lazy. I didn't want to do it myself.
Somebody says, "Hey, wings, football." I'll be there.
Well, that's
now unless you're at my house. Like at my house on Sundays, I have my children. It's like this. I'll put wings on my smoker, and there's plenty of beer in my fridge, and there's a 70-inch with football on it already. So let's move along.
Absolutely. So I'm really glad that I did though, because my buddy Zach and a former coworker of his and his fiance come out as well. I didn't know them. They came out. We're sitting down. We're having some beers. We're watching football. This, that, whatever. And of course, as I usually do, just because I'm like, hey, why are we spending money on beer? I have a bar at my house. Just grab some beers, hang out here. I got TVs all over the basement. We can watch football here.
That kind of just contradicted my point. And
Like,
it contradicted my own point.
It's kind of a thing.
Yeah, I get it.
And I'm glad they did, because one of those people, the fiance, was none other than our producer, Miss Maggie. Again, sitting over here with the headphones on, giving us thumbs up and thumbs down as we should.
That would be what they call fate.
Yeah, so as we're sitting
has
here,
led you to the perfect spot.
As we're sitting down here at my bar. Thank you, Maggie. As we're sitting down here, hold on, wait, where were we at?
I don't remember.
I remember. You say when?
Okay.
So, and again, so we're sitting down here at the bar, and happen to have the notepad out that we had filled out, and I think it was the night before, where you and me were brainstorming,
right?
And Kathy was writing down notes about our podcast, and at the time it had a different name because we were thinking a different thing at the time,
right?
I'm so glad we changed it.
Yeah,
This one makes Double BS makes way more sense. So, we're sitting down here, and Maggie's looking at this thing, and she's like, what is this? And I'm like, well, this is I started explaining like this. Me and my buddy Matt, we're talking about doing a podcast. We're going to do this, that, whatever. And if you remember, originally we were going to start this like baby steps. Like, hey, we're going to do we'll do Facebook Live for a while, and then eventually we'll get microphones, and eventually we'll get to YouTube.
I remember
that was our plan. It was very.
I remember 2 days after we started, you had sent me.
Okay, so it was on Friday.
Pictures of all the equipment that we needed to buy to like.
Oh, that was the next day.
To be like, yeah, I would say like to be like the Hodge twins. I'm like, just we have the lighting equipment, the camera equipment, the microphones. I'm like, bro, what just happened?
Like, we're gonna go. So all
right, let's move along here.
So I'm sitting down here, and of course Maggie's getting all excited. So I love this. I'm explaining what we want to do and how we, what we want to talk about, and she's just like, this is work. This is good. I want to be a part of this. Like, and then I'm like, before I could say anything, like, oh yeah, what do you think of this? No, it was a full on just a pause, and she goes, I'm gonna take this over. We're gonna make it work. I'm like, oh, okay. There was no question.
Yes,
would you like me to be a part of this?
Yes,
would you
ma'am.
like me to this? It was just a full on, like, she saw something. I don't know what it is. Hopefully you're hearing it. But she saw something and was like, I want to be a part of this. And I got excited. Like, I was excited when we were talking about it the night we were talking about it.
Right.
With the wife and everything. It was great. And then when Maggie hopped in and said her stuff, and she starts kind of spitting her stuff, I'm like, oh, this could be a thing.
This could be a big thing.
And if you remember, like, I was texting you that night, like, bro, we have a manager. And you're like, wait, what? I'm like, I'll tell you tomorrow. I'm just telling you, we got a manager. This thing's going big. Like, we're huge.
I remember the text message I got was like, we have a manager. And I thought you meant like, we have a manager we have a new manager at, Harley Davidson, the shop I work at.
No.
And I'm like, that's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Like, good for you.
It was like this. No, we got this for the manager. I'm like, and it wasn't until the next morning where I'm like reading it further in depth into the text messages because I believe I was on nights.
Yeah, because
I was like,
you gotta just like blah respond.
And all of a sudden I was like this. Wait, what's happening? Like,
yeah.
We have a manager through a podcast that
isn't even a podcast.
We don't pay anybody.
Yeah.
We don't have monetary value at the moment.
And if you
somebody's managing that,
and if you remember that, that was a Monday that you were responding. I said, hey, and I'd known Maggie less than 24 hours. I'm like, hey, what are you doing tonight? I looked at you. I was like, what are you doing tonight? I didn't do shit. So we all got together and we sat down and we started figuring this thing out.
Right.
And we shot our promo video on Maggie's iPhone.
We still need to reshoot.
I think we shot it in like 20 minutes. Oh, clearly. You know what, though? You say reshoot. I'm like, you know what? No, I don't want to. Because that's who we are.
You got to wear a hat. I didn't get to wear a hat.
Okay, we got to reshoot it for that. I like that. I'm down with that. We do need to do some more photos, though. Like, I think some promo photos. Maggie's good with the photos. She thinks we get photos.
I believe on Sunday, this coming Sunday, with a smoker and beers in front of us, we could do some great promo photos.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely. I'd like to see more photos on the Facebook page. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see some more photos of beer drinking, smoking meats, and us.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is still new, but I think,
it is.
I think that was so much fun that night. It was like, okay, here's a guy. Okay, so I'm gonna lay this out. Here's a guy that's been doing like just random ass social media videos for a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's a guy that sees that and says, "Hey, there might be something there. I wanna hop in on this and let's create something." And I'm like, okay. And then here's a gal that says, I can make this work. All right? So, to put it best, and this is in Maggie's words, she said this the other day. So, for those that don't know, creating a podcast isn't always all sunshine and rainbows and fun and this. There's some conversations that happen, especially when it's three very different people. And we had that conversation this last week where there's that, okay, well, I feel that this is what we need to do, and somebody else feels like this is what we need to do, and somebody else is like, well, I feel this is what we need to do. You have to be able to have those conversations, and I think nowadays people are almost afraid to have those conversations. There's hesitation of what I want to talk to him about it, but I don't. But we had that conversation. Me and Maddie had a conversation.
People in this day and age are afraid to be rejected. They're afraid to fail.
They're afraid to piss
they
people
believe,
off.
yeah, they're afraid to piss people off.
Yeah.
That's correct. I mean, that's beautifully put. Like, you are not allowed to have feelings different than somebody else because you're afraid that your feelings are going to be seen as you're not allowed to feel that way.
And too many
That's
times,
not how things work.
And I think too many times is there's too much emphasis on ownership.
Right.
Like, I think there's emphasis on where it comes down to it. And again, I've said this, and I haven't released or haven't revealed Maggie's comment. I'm getting there. Where there's ownership of this podcast. Where I think for me, I look at it. It's a three-way ownership thing, really, because obviously there's some meat and taters. There's the content where me and Maddie are doing our thing, and we gotta do that. But listen, you go to the store. I mean, I can go to the store right now, and I can pick up some raw taters, and I can pick up some raw meat. I mean, that's important. You got to have that. You got to have that right there. That's important. But you got to cook it. So I think where our podcast, our little trio of fun, comes into play, and Miss Maggie just put it just so perfect.
You're gonna say it, aren't you?
I'm going to.
Yeah, you got.
So she said, because I said, well, yeah.
Because why you get out like this?
And she sent me the message. So we went through our conversation, figuring everything out and learning each other. And she goes, I want you and me and she goes, what did she say? I want you and Maddie to be the meat and potatoes, and I'm just the crock pot that cooks them. And I think that is the most perfect explanation of what we do. I mean, really it is. Because
I like that explanation better than the message that I got.
Yeah. So there's two very.
Because I went, well, I got to be like that.
Well, it's because you're an idiot. But there's two very different people in me and Maddie, but we've known each other so long, and we're able to have these conversations and enjoy them. And then we have Maggie that comes in a very different age group. I mean, ultimately, you're talking a very big age gap from where she's at to where I'm at and where you're at. But she brings that kind of that flavor, that spice that, okay, we have this great idea, and she's like, okay, I'm going to kick this in the butt. Here we go.
Right.
And I think that's the fun part. That's where this whole podcasting comes in. And it's fun. I think we've done some episodes. We've had some conversations. And I think we're learning how to do it better.
Right.
from
Well, I think every
all
episode.
aspects.
I think every episode is a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
We literally have no idea what we're doing.
Nope.
But we have, I think, probably more fun doing it than anybody else could ever have.
You got to ask them. What do you think about the Northside Hellas? You got to ask. I don't know why I thought of this right now, but I have to.
I don't.
You don't hate it.
Well, no.
It's different.
It's alcohol after a
It's different.
very long day at work. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. I get the.
This is your education. This is where
This
this
is,
comes in. Brew stuff and bro stuff. I'm
Is there
going to
an
teach you the
apple?
brew stuff.
Kind of flavor in
Is
this?
there an apple? What?
I don't know. I didn't read it.
Like
I
said,
drank
I
it.
don't know.
I drank it.
So education. So talking about your education of the brews, we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll
I
get
think that's the part. You have to understand that there's a process, and you have to learn. Like, I wasn't drinking a lot of this stuff day one. I was like, nope, not doing it.
Well, you could have. I didn't understand that there was such a process to it.
No, you can't just jump. Some of the stuff that I drank, like if I introduced you to and said, here, try this. Actually, I did that once. It did not pan out for you very well.
Which time?
The morning after.
No, yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
night of
Like, we're not going to go
panned out
details.
very well. It was
Yeah.
delicious. I loved it.
Yeah, but the next morning, again, your body is not ready for it.
My stomach went,
Nope.
screw off. Like, what's wrong with you? You
And
can't do that.
And what's fun for me, and I think more so for me in this whole podcast and learning this, it's more fun for me than you, is I know the beers. Like, neither one of us know the podcast world. At least I know the beers. So as we move forward, so this is episode 4. You know, we started our first 2 unofficial episodes were on Facebook Live.
Right.
And then now that we've gone official with all of our platforms, it's 4. I'm excited to listen to this episode because it's 4 very different episodes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's episode 1.
We've grown.
Yeah,
Like-
but it's like the learning. So episode 1 was we had an idea.
Yeah.
Episode 2 was we jotted some notes. And then I think when we came to record it was kind of a different... And episode 1, if you remember, episode 1 was just you and me recording on a laptop. In episode 2, we had some notes, and then Maggie was here. And that was the first time recording in front of somebody. So I think you can definitely see that in that episode. I think it's a wonderful episode. You can definitely tell that now we're recording it in front of somebody.
Well, the funny thing is, I think you can enjoy the fact that we have grown as a podcast, and we have not grown as men.
I'm done.
Because we still have the same type of attitude
Matty, I'm 40 years
towards
old.
everything.
Matty, I'm 40 years old.
Brother, I'm 37.
I'm done growing. No,
I'm
you're not.
37.
You're supposed to be 38.
Next
You're
year,
not helping me.
2021,
You're not helping me.
May
Yeah,
1st.
2020. 2020. Holy crap, that was 2020. And I turned 40. It's
Well,
horrible.
I'm sorry for your luck.
It is what it is.
Like, I'll turn 40 in 2023.
Yeah, you suck. But I think
I really don't. I mean, I'm sorry for the year that I was born.
you should.
Like, it is
As
what
you
it
should
is.
be.
Like, you don't want to blame somebody, call my mom and dad. I'm sure they'll love to talk about it.
Oh,
Love to talk to you about
your
that.
dad will tear me up.
Yeah.
But
So,
then, like-
go ahead.
Yeah. But then, so episode 3 was, again, from the first 2, a departure, very different. Because episode 3 was our one attempt of, like, really scripting everything.
We tried. I mean, like,
But I
learning it
don't
on
think
the
that
intro to the outro to,
but
everything.
I don't think that's our thing. I think, and fortunately,
And that's not any podcast thing. I don't think
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
this.
I'm
I don't
sure
think
it
you
is
have.
some.
I'm sure you have a little bit of
Trust
a
me,
script.
if you go to Colin Cowherd's podcast, that dude has it.
Well, you
But
have
I'm
to
just
understand.
there's
It's not just.
teleprompters
He's not just a.
present.
He's not just a podcast anymore. I mean, he literally has a set things to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure. I'm sure it's things that he wants to talk about. Like, hey, we're gonna do the Blazing Five. We're gonna do Collar. His top 10 and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like every week is the same thing. Like, I watch his show.
Yeah.
Skip and Shannon, when you watch their show, it literally should be not called Undisputed. It should be called the Tom Brady Cowboys show.
You gotta stop talking about Tom Brady and
Well, I mean, literally,
the Cowboys in my basement.
it's Skip's. It's basically Skip's show, and I love Shannon. I love Shannon, not Scan. I love Shannon because
Scanning the
he will debate everything, but Skip can literally. I mean, they literally only talk about very few things other than the Cowboys
It's very limited.
and Tom Brady.
Stephen A. Smith would at least move the show along
Well,
a little.
it was still the same.
a little bit, but a little bit more than.
It was still the
Jim
same
Sharp.
thing. It was still the same thing.
But like for us, like tonight, there was no. I mean, I didn't even. I have my notepad that I tend to jot notes about and have some ideas here and there. I was very purposeful. To just the beginning of the week, I got busy, and then we had our conversation. Later in the week, so I'm like, I'm just gonna let this episode just happen. And I think ultimately that's what makes us us. I think that's where our podcast, if it gets to that point, I think that's gonna be what our thing is here's two guys that clearly love beer.
Well, yeah.
Whether it's,
Miller Coors.
my
I love
crazy
you.
craft beers, I was getting that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll toss it out all day.
Miller Coors.
Miller Coors, I love you
went
to
up
death.
around there.
Oh, Coors Light. Then just invite me to Denver.
My buddy was just.
I don't care where.
My buddy was just in Colorado.
Maybe you're not in Denver. I don't really care where you are.
They're not in Denver.
Where the mountains are cold.
But they're not in Denver. Miller Coors, so it's in Golden, Colorado.
Whatever.
Clearly, you're not a Coors Light fan. You don't even know the brewery.
Really?
They're in Golden, Colorado.
Yeah, because.
Do you know where their partner? Do you know where their sister brewery is?
Do I care?
It's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Miller.
I live in Clinton, Iowa. If there's
Miller
cold Coors Light somewhere in my town,
that's tough to find.
we're good.
It's tough to find.
Like, I don't care.
I don't know what the shortage thing is.
Great, invite me to your brewery. If not, I don't care.
there's
Just deliver cold Coors Light to my town.
There's not a shortage at the brewery.
Well, there's a shortage sometimes in this.
Listen,
damn
Miller
town.
Coors, if you're listening.
Yes. If Miller Coors, if you are listening.
Hashtag Miller Coors. Hashtag invite us out. Hashtag we will promote the crap out of your beer.
No, I will not promote the crap out of your beer. I will be your promotion. Like, I have.
I don't know.
I have plans.
I don't know what that means.
I have plans.
I know your plans, but your plans.
No, my plans, like you.
It's all about your garage. Can a little bit.
It's not. It's not a garage. It's an outdoor oasis.
Oh, it will be. That's right. That's right.
It's an outdoor oasis. A garage involves enclosed space. This is an outdoor space
part of
will be enclosed. During the wintertime, I live in Iowa. I live in Iowa. Which you could go from 110 in August to 33 degrees in September.
Oh, yeah.
So
I woke
it
up
is
this
what
morning.
it is.
I woke up this morning, took the girls to school. I was like, it's bleeding cold outside.
I walked out
And
my door and went.
I went up to my folks to help them
that sounds
out,
about right.
and I rode the motorcycle.
Yeah,
And it was glorious. I was like, this is wonderful. Love it.
yeah. As soon as daylight savings hits, I go to work in the dark and I come home in the dark. So,
Yes. So, but I think ultimately, I think that's for us as quote unquote, we'll say amateur podcasters.
I think the fun part
We'll get
is
there.
when you do a podcast, as in, I understand Colin and I mean they have morning meetings.
Hold on,
They have morning meetings. Skip and Shannon, they have morning meetings.
Let me interject for a second. So I think a lot of where you watch is very sports oriented. Obviously, you're a sports guy. Where I watch is, and of course we both love Joe Rogan. We both love the Hodge Twins. My big one is Two Beers One Cave. So
See, I haven't watched much of them.
and you need to, because I think where you're watching is whether you like it or not, it's very scripted. Like Colin Cowherd, that's very scripted. It's
Well,
very
I mean,
corporate.
though the sports
Where-
ones, I believe,
Yeah,
are because
but
they're like I said, they're TV shows at the same time.
Yeah, but if you look at Two Bears One Cave, I mean that is to a T. I mean, other than we're not quite that big around. I mean, them boys got some girth, and I love them.
I don't know.
I love me some Tom Segura. I love me some Bert Kreischer. I've seen Bert Kreischer live. He is hilarious.
You have?
Oh yes.
Wow.
Oh,
I would love to see that show. Did he tell the Russian story?
of course he did.
Of course he did. See, I would have to
I
hear
will
that.
tell you this. It's a very different experience hearing it live
Right.
than recorded. But it's to know it recorded and to hear it live. It's like you hear I've told this story a million times.
See, the funny thing is like I love.
The one story I didn't hear live, and I'm a little disappointed, just because the Machine is a wonderful.
Yeah,
Love it.
I love.
Love
That's
it.
one of my favorite stories.
And I don't know if I'm gonna throw this out here. This is his other one is Flying Dildos. I don't know if you've heard that one.
Never heard that.
Okay. Trust me, it sounds filthy. Just look it up.
The name is Flying Dildos.
I'm just saying, go Bert Kreischer, Flying Dildos. Look that up.
I'm not looking that up. You know how many people can see here?
No, trust me, worth it. The other one to look up with him is Bert Kreischer and the Bear, where he got started. His original TV show where he was interacting with the bear. That's all I'm going to give you. You have to look it up.
It's a TV show that I showed up and watched on your.
It's. I'm telling you, it's worth your time. Right. So, but the cool thing is where that podcast for me as we do this and we do our thing is that's a podcast where this is two. I mean, they have to be both stand-up comedians, but their podcast is literally, if you watch it, it's on YouTube. It's two guys with life experiences, and they're literally telling their stories. That's all it is. I mean, they've got. I mean, granted, I mean they're video and audio. I mean, eventually we'll get to video and audio.
Right.
And so they have some. Excuse me, by the way. Oh my goodness. They have a crew and everything like that, and they have some monitors that they're watching some stuff. But the way they interact and have that kind of knowledge of each other,
right,
and who they are and their experiences, it very much mimics you and me.
See,
very much like we've been around each other for a while. We know each other. We know some stories. We can tell some stories. They're the same way, and they're two. I don't want to say very different people. They're two different people. Like there's clearly a separation of the two of them. And that's what makes them them. That's ultimately what makes them them. And the comparison to that podcast and ours is Bert Kreischer just goes. He just does his thing. Kind of like me. Mm-hmm. But when Tom Segura comes in and tells something, it's like, ooh, that's like.
I think you need to also have a goal as to where we want to be. And while I love that, I mean, I haven't watched much of that podcast. The couple episodes that you have sent me, I do like that podcast. And you always say that the podcasts that I watch, a lot of them that I could refer to as podcasts, Colin and just Skip and Shannon and even First Take on ESPN like that. My favorite podcast is still Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan literally is a platform to just have a conversation about anything and everything that you could literally have a conversation about. He'll have a guest on, and the next guest is completely different.
Yeah.
It's just, Joe Rogan is like, let's just talk.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation about whatever it is that you're passionate about. Mm-hmm. Either you teach me and I have an opinion, and we go back and forth, and literally it's the perfect podcast ever.
And I think, though, for him, even with the kind of just a natural progression and let's have a conversation, he's still, and the thing that I like about the Joe Rogan experience, it's still kind of interview oriented. Like when he has a guest on, like they're going to have that conversation.
Of course.
But he's still really kind of leading, and he's still kind of putting questions out there.
And I think that's where our ultimate goal would be.
Oh yeah.
Like we would still be having that conversation, but in the end, our ultimate goal would be like, hey, every episode we have, it's like, Petey, don't get me wrong, we could talk about anything and everything all day long.
I like it,
but we could literally, it's like this. Let's have somebody come in and talk about what they want to talk about.
And I like that.
Let's go where we haven't been.
And I think I like that, but I think where we would be different. Where my thought is where we'd be different is not an interview format. Like, regular interview, you just like, okay, beforehand we'll sit down with whoever, like, what's your thing? And then we roll on it.
That's where the off the cuff stuff comes in.
Not the interview like
because he has interviews, but it's like he literally comes in and talks about. He both talks about what he wants to talk about, but what they both can talk about.
Yes.
Like and the thing that I love about Joe is he's more open to anything. He's more open to like, okay, so this is how you feel. Let's move along with that. Let's we'll talk about this. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I think to me, it's just a perfect
Yeah.
thing to listen to.
And I think, like, for us, I'm going to put this out here. Episode 4. Let's lay it out. I would love to see...
Isn't this episode 4?
I would love to see our first attempt at that,
Okay.
to where we have maybe a couple people on and just having a discussion about something. And again, with you learning the craft beers and things like that, I would love to see us have a couple, not local breweries, but like local brewers, like guys or gals that brew beer at their house, do their own brews.
Right.
Bring those on, and we have a conversation with them. Much like we are today about talking about how podcasting is a thing.
You ain't gonna hear much from me. I don't know anything about that stuff.
I think that's the best part. I think you can learn, and we could listen to, these guys even more so than me telling you about beer. They get like, this is what they do in their process. Even more so where you and me both just kind of sit back and let them do their thing. So I'm going to put this out here. I'm going to put out an episode 4.
5.
This is episode 4.
Is it episode 5?
Yep.
So this is episode 4.
Yes, this is episode 4. I'm putting it out in episode 4. Yeah, I'm putting it out in episode 4. 4 episodes in. This is why I love Miss Maggie. She keeps us straight. No, episode 5. We can't do it episode 5. That's too soon. I would love to see local brewers reach out to us.
Right.
Our email
The
is
Double BS Podcast.
doublebspodcast@gmail.com.
Right.
So double, spelled out, D-O-U-B-L-E.
At the same time.
BS, hold on, I'm spelling words out.
Yeah, we know.
D-O-U-B-L-E, BS-P-O-D-C-A-S-T.com. Or no, it's at gmail.com. Sorry, gmail.com.
Hold on, I'm spelling words out.
Send us an email. If you are a local brewer, you brew some beers, we would love to hear from you. Also, check us out on the Facebook.
Okay.
Message us on Facebook. But we want to hear you guys. We want to hear from, and I would say, pending Corona mitigation stuff, I would love to see 4 different home brewers.
I'm gonna pause you
I'm pausing.
because I'm like, okay, if you don't hear from 4, you don't hear from 2. You got a backup plan? Like, let's have.
I know.
Do you have somebody else? Do you have a different topic in mind? Like, there may be somebody else out there that says, I don't know anything about homebrewing, but I got a buddy. We can talk about this.
I have really good news. I know like 12.
Oh, of course.
I know like 12.
Of course you do.
I know like 12 home brewers. Well, I will reach out to them if need be. I want to see.
No,
them.
I don't want you to reach out to anybody.
I hope I don't have to.
I want this to be organic.
Yeah.
Like, you reach out to here.
So,
Like, if you have a topic, whether it be sports, whether it be homeschooling, whether it be parenting, I don't care what it is.
Oh, no. I
If
love
that's
that.
what you want to come out and do,
Yeah.
if you're the one that reaches out, says, let's talk about this, bring it on.
Hold on, you can't go there on me.
I just did.
I mean, you did.
Yeah.
So,
what do you mean I can't? I did.
well, I'm gonna back you up because I like where you're at there. I'm gonna back you up a little bit. Home brewers, hit us up. Step forward. If you have a topic that you would love for us to hear, all right? If you would love to hear that topic, please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. Me and Matty and Maggie are only going to be able to come up with so many topics.
right. And we could talk about anything and everything, but I mean you're literally talking about
yeah, whatever you think. Family,
sports,
beer,
family, beers, house repair, DIY,
DIY,
DIY.
TikTok.
Yeah, right. TikTok.
I don't know.
No, we're not doing that.
Facebook.
We've had a couple requests
Barbells.
before we started the actual audio version, women's perspective on certain topics.
We'll get there. Yep.
Let's have it.
I think we'll get there. Yep.
Well, I mean, anything. Like, go ahead. We're
Games.
not video games. I haven't played video
So,
games since high school.
On that
Let's
note,
do it.
I would love to hear.
We,
We would love to hear from that.
because I disappeared a couple seconds ago.
You did. Where'd you go? Kind of like your hair.
Oh, that's messed up, bro.
So
That's messed
here's
up.
where we're at, guys. Thank you so much. I can't. Maddie can't. We can't say enough. Meg can't. Thank you so much for the support early on. So remember, guys, we record once a week. We put out new episodes on YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, and Buzzsprout. I love it. It's
Friday
5
morning.
mediums.
Friday mornings at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Central Time, of course. Now make sure when you are seeing all of that.
Oh, if you have a like button,
There it is.
if you have a subscribe button,
Thank you.
if you have a bell notification anywhere near any of that stuff, that you hit all of those. Like button, of course, you can like whatever we drop. Subscribe button, you can subscribe and hear everything we drop. You'll get that bell notification, which will allow you to hear anything we drop in advance. And, of course, the comment button, which we would love to hear from you on what you want. You're going to make me rate my brew.
It is
right?
time.
It is time,
guys.
right?
We're winding down. This is the end.
So
of
the Big Grove,
Big Grove Brewery, Solon, Iowa.
Cranberry Plum Swirl Fruited Sour Ale. You want me to rate that?
You're
Well,
thinking way too hard.
Coors Light, I mean, hit a 45 out of 5.
I do remember that. Coors Light, 1 to 5. Oh, it was a 45.
It's probably grown to like a 65 now. It's amazing.
I know your rating system's a little funky, but that's
It's
okay.
not. I mean,
It's okay.
Coors Light deserves the crown. It's amazing.
But where's this one at? Like
I would give that probably. I mean, what did I? I mean, I gave the last two probably a 4. I'm gonna probably give this a 4. I mean, it's
A 4?
really
I
not
like it.
bad.
I like it.
Like I'm not. I haven't had a beer yet that I'm like this. I'm gonna give it a a thumbs down or anything like that. They're pretty tasty. Big Grove has actually surprised the crap out of me.
They make some good beer.
They make some really good beers,
They
and,
make some good
and when you look at them, I'm like, and then I taste it and I go,
We're gonna reach out to them.
it's not bad.
We're gonna
I'm
do
like,
we're
wow,
gonna do an episode from
you
them.
I'm okay with that. I'm like they've I don't want to try the scented candle one that you.
No. On that note, guys,
ask me to,
I'm going to pass my bro, Matty Bath, a 45 level,
65.
65
It
level
grows.
Coors Light. It's going to sound just like this. And we're out, guys. Thank you so much. Maddie, cheers to you. Maggie, cheers to you.
Cheers to you both.
We will listen to you all next week.
We thank you for
very much.
listening. We appreciate all the love and support. You all enjoy your morning.